This video will show you how to replace the rear brake flex hose on a Chrysler 300. This is part of the rear braking system located behind your rear wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the rear of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done that, you're going to remove all 5 of your 21mm lug nuts so we can get the wheel off of here. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, we have a clear view of our rear brake flex hose. This leads all the way down to our caliper, which is where we're going to start. Looking at the caliper itself, we can see where our bleeder screw is. Typically, you're going to find a small rubber cover. I like to fully remove that bleeder screw cover. Now that I have that off of there, I'm going to make sure that I have a collection receptacle under this area. We're going to be opening the bleeder screw. Brake fluid will make its way out. We want to also use some penetrant in this area. Alright, I can see some brake fluid making its way out of here. Now I'm going to pause in the wheel well here. We're going to make our way into the passenger compartment. I'm going to carefully press the brake pedal all the way down to the floor and hold it there with something such as a pry bar. Once we've done that, we'll make our way back out here. A quick note about having the brake pedal pressed down is your brake lights will be on throughout this entire process. Let's make sure we do not drain down our battery. Now that I have pressure on that brake pedal, we're back here at the caliper. Let's just lightly close that bleeder screw. We will be reopening that. Now we're moving just underneath where our bleeder screw was to where our brake flex hose connects to the caliper. You're going to find that you have a 13mm headed banjo bolt holding the flex hose to the caliper. Keep in mind, as you start removing this, brake fluid will make its way out. We need to have our collection receptacle under this area. A thorough inspection of our banjo bolt, we need to confirm there's no pre-existing gasket or debris on it. If you see a gasket, you need to remove it. Let's just get that gasket off of there. This is very important. We'll set that aside. A thorough inspection of that banjo bolt, this looks good. While we're down in this area, let's also make sure we clean and inspect our caliper as well. We're following the flex hose up to its next mounting point. Now this does have a bracket with a piece of mounting hardware tucked up and behind here, but we're not dealing with that hardware yet. We need to dislodge our brake line from the flex hose. Now this brake line actually makes its way through from the backside here. It's fairly difficult to see, but it is located just right behind where the flex hose is. We'll be using a 13mm for our brake line fitting, and I'm going to use a 17mm to hold my brake line still close to my bracket. That should help me prevent it from moving while I continue on. Now, as far as turning this brake line fitting, we want to make sure we are not twisting our brake line in a way which could cause damage. If it's rusted or corroded, you want to be extremely careful not to damage that brake line, otherwise you're going to have to create a new one. We'll just turn this fully counterclockwise until it removes from our brake flex hose. We'll continue on. Now that I have that broken free, I don't need to use my wrench holding that bracket still. I'll just continue on with my 13mm. There we are. Now we can pull the brake line out and away from our brake flex hose. Just a quick inspection of that to confirm it's not rotted, weak, or damaged in any way. This is in good condition, we'll set that aside. Now we can move along to our brake flex hose bracket. Now this bracket does have a 10mm headed mounting bolt tucked in and behind this area. You do not need to remove the inside fender liner to gain access to this. Just go ahead and gently flex it away, use your 10mm to remove the bolt, and then eventually that flex hose as well. reach in here, remove that bolt, and we'll remove our flex hose. There it is, friend. Prior to installation of any brand new part, of course, we're going to make sure we clean and inspect our mounting surfaces. One of the most important areas to pay attention to would be that brake line and brake line fitting. We need to confirm nothing's rotted, weak, or damaged. If it is, it's going to need to be serviced. Just a quick wipe on that, I can tell that this is still in good usable condition. Let's make our way to the mounting point for the bracket, tucked just behind our inside fender liner. We're just giving this a quick wipe. That looks good as well. Now, of course, we have already checked our caliper. If for some reason you skipped that step, you need to make sure you check that now. Okay, now it's time to install the brand new rear brake flex hose. Prior to getting this in position, we want to pay attention to where the brake line would screw into. Up along the top of that area, you're going to find that you have a small bleeder screw. Now, this is really just to help remove any air. We're going to make sure we use a 10mm and close it nice and tight. We definitely don't want to have a brake fluid leak from that area. Now, as I bring this over, I'm going to start with my brake line into my brake flex hose. We need to make sure we start this in by hand. Once we have it started in, we'll leave it loose and we'll continue on to our brake hose bracket next. That line is started in. Let's make our way up to that brake line bracket. We're going to align the mounting bolt port, slide it in towards the body, and start in that mounting bolt. I got that started in. Let's make sure we snug it up. Take hold of the bracket, make sure it's properly secured to the body of the vehicle. We'll continue on along the backside, fully securing that brake line into the flex hose. I'm just going to make sure it's nice and tight using my flare end wrench. We're bringing the flex hose down and behind this upper arm. It's going to make its way out towards the caliper. Now, when we go to attach that flex hose to the caliper, we have our fully cleaned banjo bolt. We're taking one of our brand new gaskets. We're sliding it right up on there. Continuing on, let's take hold of the flex hose. We want to make sure we have it in the proper orientation. We'll slide that banjo bolt through. Brand new gasket on the opposite side. Now we have a new gasket on each side of that flex hose. No pre-existing gaskets should be in place. Let's gently flex this. We're going to bring it down to the proper position on the caliper itself next. Start it in by hand. Bottom it out. The torque for this will be 37 foot-pounds. Now that I have that snug, I'm torquing it to 37 foot-pounds. Let's double check to make sure that's properly secured in place. It should not move around. The next thing you have to do is make your way inside the passenger compartment. You're going to remove pressure from that brake pedal. Now under the hood, we're going to make our way to the master cylinder. You can see it underneath this area, but I like to gain access with my access panel. It has a small tab here. You should be able to lift this up. You may have to gently pry it up and out of the way. Just a couple small locking tabs on that, fairly basic to remove. Down in this area is where the master cylinder is. We're going to wipe down along the top of the master cylinder prior to removing the cap. I'm going to use a rag and wipe down along the top of this, so once I do remove my cap, no miscellaneous debris falls inside of my braking system. After that, we'll just go ahead and turn that counterclockwise. We're going to dislodge it, but rest it right up along the top. At this point, we're going to continue on with a gravity bleed down at our caliper. Now we're focusing back at our rear brake caliper. We need to open our bleeder screw, and we're waiting to see a steady trickle of fluid making its way out with no air bubbles. We have our collection receptacle under here. Now at this point, I have only a steady trickle of fluid making its way out. I'm going to close my bleeder screw. We'll make our way into the passenger compartment and pump up the brake pedal. We want to confirm that it feels firm. Assuming it does, go ahead and clean up your mess and reinstall your bleeder screw cover. Otherwise, you want to continue on with the manual brake bleed. Now let's make our way back under the hood. We need to make sure we top off our brake fluid master cylinder. For that, we've already cleaned around the cap, so we can just remove that. We'll top off the master cylinder using clean .3 brake fluid. Okay, that looks good. Reinstall our cap and clean any mess in this area. Just double check to make sure that's secured. We'll install our protective panel next. Now, as for installing this cover, we have our little hooked areas along the backside. We'll go ahead and align that. And then we're rolling it down along the front and the outer side here. There's a locking tab here and along the front. Now, one last inspection in this area. Let's reinstall our wheel. Once you have the wheel in place, start on all 5 of your 21mm lug nuts. Bottom them out. Get the wheel safely back down on the ground, and then you're going to torque each one of them to 110 foot-pounds. Now I have the wheel back on the ground. I'm going to be torquing each one of my lug nuts in a crisscross manner to that 110 foot-pounds. Torqued. Okay, friend, let's get started on our job. A quick note about doing this: you will have to have all 4 of your wheels removed. So safely raise and support your vehicle to remove all 4 wheels. After that, we're under the hood. Along the driver's side, we can see the master cylinder underneath this area. There's a small access panel up along the top. Take hold of the tab across the front. We'll lift this up and out of position. There we are. We just have several locking tabs on that. Should lift up and out of there. Now, looking down in this area, we can see our master cylinder, our reservoir, and our cap. We're going to carefully clean around the cap. We'll remove as much fluid as possible and then fill the master cylinder reservoir with brand new .3 brake fluid. Take hold of that cap. We're turning it counterclockwise. You want to make sure the seal is still in good usable condition and it's not swollen, torn, or damaged in any way. We'll set that aside. Now, continuing on, we need a fluid extraction device. We're going to try to remove as much fluid from inside of the master cylinder as possible. After that, we'll just fill it up with some clean .3 brake fluid to continue on. I get my little hose here. To help prevent from spilling in this area, I'm just going to use a small funnel. Let's use our clean .3 brake fluid. We're topping this off to the maximum line. Temporarily reinstall your reservoir cover so no miscellaneous debris makes its way inside that braking system. Now we're starting our bleed procedure. We're at the passenger side rear. Once we've completed bleeding this brake, we're going over to the driver's side and we're going to repeat this exact same process. Once we've completed that, we have to stop back underneath the hood at the master cylinder. We're going to top it off with some clean .3 brake fluid. We'll make our way to the passenger side front, and then we're ending at the driver's side front. Now I have a second person inside the vehicle. They're going to pump up the brake pedal for me. Once they have it pumped up, they're going to let me know they're holding it, and I'm at my bleeder screw on the rear caliper. I'm going to open this up. We're waiting to see a steady trickle of fluid making its way out with no air bubbles. The whole point of this is to have clean brake fluid and no air. Go ahead and pump up the brake pedal, please. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. You can release, thank you. Now at this point, I've had several attempts of bleeding the brakes and I had only clean brake fluid making its way out with no air. So I'm sure that I fully bled this brake. Go ahead and clean any mess, and if you have a bleeder screw cover, go ahead and install that right afterward. So this brake is done, I'm going over to the driver's side. I'm going to repeat this exact same process, and then I'll meet you at that master cylinder so we can top it off. Onto the hood, we're back at that master cylinder. Let's go ahead and top it off once again up to that maximum line. That looks good for now. We will be making our way back here in the end to do our final top off. Now both rear brakes are bled and I've already topped off my master cylinder, so I'm at the passenger side front next. Along the back side of the caliper is where we're going to find our bleeder screw. Go ahead and remove your cover, assuming you have one, and we'll continue on with our 10mm here. We're going to have that same exact bleeding process. Go ahead and pump up the brake pedal, please. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. You can release, thank you. Now I bled this brake several times. I have only clean brake fluid and no air. Repeat the process as necessary on your application. After that, just go ahead and clean up any mess, reinstall your bleeder screw cover, and then make your way over to the driver's side front. You're going to do this exact same thing. After that, you're back at that master cylinder for a final top off. All those brakes are bled. We're back under the hood here. Clean dot 3 brake fluid all the way up to the maximum line. Let's just put a little bit more in here. There we are. Remove that funnel. Reinstall our cap. We're just going to make sure we clean up any mess from in this area, especially if any brake fluid made its way onto a painted surface. If for some reason some brake fluid did, you can use some clean water to clean it off. Now, as for this plastic protective cover, we want to start by the back side. We have 2 hooked ridges. Go ahead and start them in, and then we'll press this down along the front and the outboard side. There's 3 locking tabs. Okay, friend, we finished the installation of our rear brake flex hose, and we finished bleeding the brakes. We need to make sure we pump up that brake pedal till it feels firm, confirm there's no leaks, take the vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.